For item 57, you're introducing an ordinance amending Chapter 9.120 relating to unlawful camping on public property, waiving full reading and continuing to November 5th for adoption.
Yes, I can kick it off for the board. As you all recall, Supervisors Desmond and Hume requested a couple months ago for us to draft an ordinance to address camping on public property within the unincorporated area of the county. This ordinance will do that, and I will be available to answer questions. And I know Emily Halcon is also here if you have specific questions.
Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I know we do have some folks here that are been very patient and wanting to speak on this item, but I just did want to provide kind of in the context of an update. When Supervisor Desmond and I first started exploring introduction of a camping ordinance, that was prior to the grants pass decision. And so rather than introducing a new ordinance with new criteria, with new parameters, through talking with the County Council's office, it seemed a lot cleaner and smoother to just amend our critical infrastructure ordinance. And so that is what is being brought before us today, is something that simplifies what we already had on the books so that it can be applied more generally and less ambiguously. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Supervisor Hume. And just to underscore that a little bit, we met with the sheriff and the district attorney about this issue as well. And I know when we did craft the critical infrastructure ordinance, we really struggled with, okay, what can we identify that would comply with Boise versus Martin? And that has created some difficulties, certainly, for law enforcement in determining when that applies, when it doesn't apply, and I think we never really came back and fully fleshed out where that critical infrastructure is. So that has made things a little more difficult, and I think that has also led us to a point where we should have something that is just more general and allow the prioritization to be done by law enforcement based on encampments that are particularly problematic. And I want to thank County Council Lisa. Thank you for your guidance and discussion about this, and thank you to Janice for preparing the matrix that you provided us that shows the other ordinances throughout Sacramento County. I think this ordinance that we're proposing today aligns us, generally speaking, with all of the other jurisdictions within the county. And I think there's value in that as well, that we all have a consistent authority in how we approach the encampment. So,
thank you. Do we have public comment?
For item 56, or sorry, for 57, we do have public comment. Liz Williams.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I forgot my bow tie at home, but next time I'll bring it. My dog is not as behaved, so we'll leave her at home. Well, good afternoon, Chair Kennedy, members of the board, county executive, county staff. I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Metro Chamber and the Sacramento County businesses we represent and their employees, their families, and their patrons. We're in full support of item 57 and greatly appreciate the work being done to ensure necessary tools are in place to manage the public realm and best serve our community. As the County Department of Social Services continues to do the excellent work of expanding outreach resources and support for unhoused individuals, we applaud the streamlined approach of this ordinance to create consistency throughout the county and bring into alignment with recent state and federal direction. As this item moves forward, please call upon us as a partner for collaboration as we strive to uplift the voice of business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs that call Sacramento home. We urge your support and thank you for consideration and opportunity to comment today.
Thank you, Liz. Lisa Sanchez.
I have some photos just to be able to show. If that's fine. And then Randy he'll go ahead and just change them during. Hello, Board. My name is Lisa. I volunteer with River City Waterway Alliance, and I just wanted to come and show support for the amended ordinance. Thank you so much. We do understand that this is also including a lot of the critical infrastructure, which had added creeks and waterways to this a couple years ago, again, which we so appreciate. One of the things I did want to identify in this or updated ordinance is how the encampments that will be established in violation have either a 48-hour notice or less than 48-hour notice. And we would like to suggest to have those under critical infrastructure under the 48-hour notice to include creeks and waterways. One of the reasons is because, especially during the winter time, the creeks and waterways, not rivers per se, but the creeks flood so fast. And once a camp is identified in and around a waterway within the channel, along the floodplain, on the top bank, so forth, it is imperative to be able to have them vacated within the under 48 hours. The sooner the better. And it is because it is considered a flood risk. A lot of times what we'll find is their encampment debris, not only just small trash and litter, but mattresses, camps, tents, tarps, tend to kind of create blockages along trees and bushes and shrubs that have grown during the summertime. So it is a big issue to vacate anybody that is in and around creek and waterway. The other thing I did want to identify and just say thank you for is that it's just considered on public property, but also that you've included the notion within, let's see here, under public property as well. I don't think many people actually think about that, but under bridges and so forth, again, for us, it's over creeks and waterways that the bridges and people camping under it, like their debris is discharged in there, again, causing flooding and a lot of backing up of stuff. So again, the fact that it was noted under the public property is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Council. If I recall right, when we had the critical infrastructure ordinance before us, we kind of went back and forth on where we draw the line for water, top of levee, all of that. And if I recall right, the reason that we had that robust discussion was because while we were trying to accomplish a certain goal, we were also trying to make it defensible under Boise. That no longer being the case, is that something we could look at giving options when this comes back in November?
I would say that it's actually addressed in the ordinance as it is because it's more of a sweeping prohibition.
Okay.
We don't identify anything between top of the waterway and waterway, just public property.
Okay.
And the examples that the speaker showed, I think, would most likely qualify as exigent circumstances so that they could be removed immediately and not have to wait the 48 hours.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Chairperson, our next speaker will be District Attorney Ho, and then after that, Under Sheriff Mike Siegler.
Jumping the line there. Thank you for your patience, Mr. District Attorney.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much, and the rest of the board as well.
I'm not going to start the clock, but last time I did that.
I did go over a little bit. So, first of all, I want to applaud the board for its continuing effort to deal with this humanitarian crisis. I know that last year the county spent over $180 million in programs and services to address the unhoused crisis. And frankly, I believe that the media does not give the county enough credit for the efforts that the county continually engages in to deal with this crisis. And so I want to first note that. This is something that is needed, this amendment. When the original ordinance was put into place, the issues that we had in the court system and federally was Martin versus Boise. But since then, as you have mentioned, we have the Grants Pass case that I had the privilege of watching in Washington, D.C. before the Supreme Court. And I do want to thank, I know that Supervisor Hume and Desmond had reached out and worked extensively on this amendment, and as well as County Council. This is going to bring the County of Sacramento into an area of consistency with many other jurisdictions, including Elk Grove. And I think that's incredibly important to have that consistency across the county. And even the city has moved towards this direction as well. So this is something that is needed, something that I applaud the county for really engaging in. It is a humanitarian crisis. It is an environmental crisis. And I know that this particular board in particular has made great efforts and strides to deal with this. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Welcome, Undersheriff.
Chair, board members, thank you for having me today. Under Sheriff Mike Ziegler. A little historical perspective on the homeless crisis from the Sheriff's Department's viewpoint. As you know, as soon as Sheriff Cooper got elected, we came in and we made homeless our #1 priority, but we tackled it from a different angle. We understood that, we saw that a lot of the unhoused were being victimized by a small portion of unhoused. So instead of, it took us a couple months, but we pretty much just stopped doing sweeps, right? And we didn't think sweeps were as effective as some of the other jurisdictions were doing. We didn't even see it as our primary goal. Our primary goal as a Sheriff's Department is to protect those who are being victimized by crime, domestic violence, sexual assault, those that are addicted to drugs or with mental illness that commit crimes. It's not a crime to have a mental illness, but to commit crimes was to address those issues. And I think you saw, I stood up here before a couple occasions before this board, and I think we've all seen that in the unincorporated area of the county, the homeless, especially with the major encampments, has gotten a lot better. And having been part of the discussion on this ordinance early on, yes, there was some concern with the Sheriff's Department, especially about, taking and housing property of the unhoused, having them come and get it that when they needed it and stuff like that. That was a gargantuan, that would have been a gargantuan effort for us. And we aren't funded or don't have the staff to do that. But having read this current proposal on this ordinance, I think that has relieved some of our concerns. Will this change how the sheriff deals with the homeless crisis in Sacramento? I don't think so. After grants pass, we were getting a lot of calls. What are you going to do different? What are you going to do different? We're not doing anything different. I think that the path that we have taken to focus on the public safety aspect of it, the victimization aspect of it, is the best approach for a sheriff's office to do. I think there's some positive unintended consequences with that, and I think we've seen those, but I don't really see the ordinance being a heavy lift for the Sheriff's Department, because as of today, that could change. I don't see us changing our operations that much.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Mike, for your contribution here. It's important, and to your last point about what you would change or what the Sheriff's Department would change being nothing, I would respectfully challenge that in terms of, I think what you and I both know, this board knows, is that hot services are incredibly oversubscribed, and there's, I think, fair to say, a growing need for hot services in the unincorporated county. So I would respectfully ask that if the Sheriff's Department, your office in particular, is not already thinking about what could or should occur subsequent to passage of staff's recommendation today, what budget consequence that might have in terms of maybe enhancing. I would say the only thing you want to do differently is more of what you're doing, but you can't really do that unless you have the resources to achieve that objective. So it's early in terms of consideration of growth requests, budget requests for next year, and we're going to need to know a lot more in terms of our fiscal condition before the county exec begins his annual exercise of asking departments to come back with growth requests. But again, as it relates to what we're being asked to consider today, and if affirmed, I would strongly encourage you to think about how we get there from here in terms of doing more of what we're doing successfully.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and I'll get in the weeds on the budget aspect of it a little bit. As you know, the Sheriff's Department, we hold about 100 plus 110 vacancies, right? And so when we're talking about our hot team, which we're very, very proud of, both on the social services side and the victimization side, do a fantastic job. We've always been blessed with the best personnel in the hot team. But when we do operations, we bring in a lot of different people outside, from inside the department, detectives, patrol, that type, and that costs a lot of money, right? We've had the luxury, unfortunately, of having a lot of salary savings in the last 2 years, right? Because we've been so far down staffed, but we're seeing a change in that. I was just at Academy graduation yesterday. It was, we're a regional academy. We had 46 graduates. 23 of those were ours. And going into December and the next couple academies, we're going to staff those. We're going to have about 75 recruits in those academies, like we used to do. I used to be a academy commander, and we routinely have 70. But what that will impact, supervisor, we won't have the money then, right? We won't have the salary savings to go into these operations. So I take your point, and we're looking into the future on these operations and other operations that we do that have been successful, like human trafficking and all this other stuff that we're dealing with major narcotics cases and stuff like that, because that luxury of having that budget is shrinking. It's going to be shrinking. So,
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Deanne Dwyer.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Kennedy, supervisors, and staff. My name is Deon Dwyer, and today I'm representing nearly 1,000 businesses in Sacramento County. I'm representing the Arden Howe Business Alliance as well as the Carmichael Improvement District. And we applaud the effort of staff and the board to modernize the ordinances based upon the Supreme Court decisions. And we're looking for transparency and consistency in the county, and we feel this is a really important measure to move forward with. Both the districts combined spend close to $750,000 both on clean and safe with the budgets that we're currently working on. So it's a need, and we understand the county has budget needs. The business owners are putting up budgets as well, and we look forward to being a partner moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Randy?
Good afternoon. I'm Randy Smith. I'm in District 3, and I was really pleased to see the board considering this ordinance. I think it's offers a great improvement to help our community. I work primarily in helping to protect our creeks and waterways that, as the previous speaker showed, have been so impacted by allowing camping that has been occurring in our waterways. And I was pleased to see in the writing of this ordinance on page 3, under the definitions on L, public property, defining public property, that included waterways, canal banks, and the like. And I just wanted to say that the county is receiving a lot of, as many of you supervisors know, a lot of support from volunteers that are removing a lot of this debris from our waterways. And in the process, we're talking with people who are in our waterways as we're working around active camps, helping them to remove things. And I think this will, helping people move out of harm's way where they're getting flooded and all their equipment is getting washed away. I think it'll be serving them as well as the general public. So thank you for considering this ordinance, and I hope to see that it does go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Janice?
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board, and county staff. Janice Foster Downs with the SAC Asian Chamber, representing the AAPI businesses throughout the county. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. We are in full support of this ordinance, and we greatly appreciate the work that's being done by county staff, by the county, to ensure that the necessary tools are in place to manage our public sphere and to best serve our community as a whole. As the County Department of Social Services continues to elevate the outreach, the resources, and the support for our unhoused individuals, it continues to offer solutions that addresses the problems that were mentioned by the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney, but also solutions that support our businesses and our community as a whole. We applaud these efforts. We applaud the streamlined approach of this ordinance to create consistency throughout the county, and we just really want to continue to support the county as it moves forward in efforts to support our unhoused and our business community. Consider us a partner as you move forward, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Janice. Is that all the public comment we have?
Be all for this item.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, I want to thank all the speakers here today, representatives from the business community and Metro Chamber, Asian Chamber, and of course the River City Waterway Alliance. You're staunch, steadfast advocates, and really appreciate the work you do. And also, of course, our DA and Undersheriff. And I think what is really heartening for me to hear is that everybody who talks about this dual role that we have to have. We have to have good tools for enforcement, but we also have to remain committed to providing help to people. And I think that's what this board has shown that we are committed to. And just because we are going to hopefully pass this today does not mean we will lay off the gas on continuing to prioritize services and help for people who need it. I think this change, this relatively simple change, provides the consistency, clarity, and simplicity. Simplicity that will make, I think, decisions for law enforcement and those most affected by the encampments much easier. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would move support of the item.
We have a motion and a second.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you very much, everybody, for staying as long as you did. We appreciate your input and what you are doing in our community. At this point, we missed a card on item 56, so we have public comment.